Welcome back to Level Headed. I am honored, and it's my pleasure to welcome my good friend, a man whose company is truly making an impact on people all over the United States and the world, Mr. Patrick Bertagna. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you, Jack. It's an honor to be here with you, and really glad to be here.
Thanks, Patrick. Let me ask you a few questions. I want you to give our audience, this is level-headed. So our goal here is not to talk about the fluff. We really want to dive into the things that GTX as a company is doing, where the vision has come from. So I'd really like to learn a little bit about the history. What brought this entire vision into reality?
Well, I think in a nutshell, the shirt you're wearing sums it up. It's about tracking what you love and who you love. And if you recall back about 15 years ago, Elizabeth Smart, little girl out of Utah, was abducted. And it was a horrible, tragic experience that the United States got to see, by the media. And I was watching, mesmerized, glued to the TV every night, and I thought, why don't we just put tracking devices inside of wearables? So we're really the first wearable technology company. And our whole ethos is all about putting technology inside of wearables, specifically footwear. We specialize in shoes and insoles. And our whole mission statement is to help locate and find and track and monitor where people that you love are.
Thank you, Patrick. And so in saying that, we're talking about an epidemic. When you talk about Alzheimer's disease, you talk about kids who suffer, from diseases that affect their brain and their development. And there's so many kids, all around the world who have these diseases, more than people probably understand. And so, how is it? Is it ever frustrating to realize that sometimes people just can't afford your product simply because they can't afford it? And what do you think our government, what do you think our local governments, our state governments, what more can we do to be able to get your product in the hands of those that need it?
I wouldn't say we're frustrated because there's a process, but yeah, the statistics are overwhelming. Let's start there. 9 million people in the United States have some cognitive disorder, so Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, traumatic brain injury. 100 million people worldwide, and it's expected to grow to 277 million. So it's a lot of people. Yes, our products are not, cheap, but what's a life worth, right? If someone goes missing, you have a child, you ever lose them even for 5 minutes? It's probably very nerve-wracking, right? So imagine your mother that's a little cognitively slow wanders off for 4 hours or 4 days. So what can our government do? Our government can start realizing that there's an epidemic. Unfortunately, there's just more and more people on this earth that have cognitive memory disorders and wander off, and that it's not going to cost a lot of money to save a whole lot of lives.
Thank you, Patrick. That's some pretty empowering stuff. I know I've had a chance to talk to you about some of these things before, but you have real life stories that affect real people that have been tracked. I remember a statistic you gave me a while back in New York City. The state of New York spends over $10,000 every time they have to go out and track someone down. That's astronomical. And to think that a technology like yours could really not just help solve that problem, but save these cities a tremendous amount of money. Can you give us just some examples of the areas that you're doing business, maybe some of the states that have taken you on, and where some of our viewers and others can find these products? I know that you have qualified for a number of Medicaid programs, and you're able to actually offer some of these services to disadvantaged people and underserved populations in our country. Can you expand on that a little bit?
So we currently are covered in 7 states in the United States from the Medicaid program. So it's for income qualified families that are already in the system. And the Medicaid, those states cover 100% of the cost of the product and most to all of the monthly services. So we're very fortunate that so far 7 states, it's taken us 2 years to get 7 states, but we apply every month to a different state, and the process is slow. and sometimes arduous, but we're getting through it. We've also been granted approval in Alberta, Canada, and we're working in Norway and Sweden and in the UK. So we're making some good progress. The government bodies and institutions are realizing that the cost savings in the long run is much greater than the outlay of money in the short run.
No, those are very, very valid points, and so, you know, along those same lines, you know, as you look at GTX, and you look at all the technologies that you've been able to advance. You know, you have the GPS tracking technology that is made for your shoe, actually this insole that you have. I know that you also have other tracking technologies that are targeting towards various populations. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Certainly. So we started with the GPS tracking device, like I said. Think LoJack, meets Dr. Scholl's. And we've expanded, keeping to our form factor of footwear. We really believe in footwear as a great wearable to put electronics in. But we expanded on the actual core technology. So now we're putting in biometric sensors inside of our insoles so that you can monitor someone's mobility, activity, and gait. So what this means to the general population is think about anybody that's over 40 that wears a Fitbit, for example. They could wear our insoles, and we can actually give them they can take a walking test, which is no different than going to the doctor now and taking a blood test to see how you're doing. But just by walking 5 minutes with our product, you'll be able to know how their overall wellness is. So that really expands us into a much broader market, like I said, 40 or 50 and above. The key thing here for seniors is fall detection and then prevention. So if we can detect if a senior is about to fall, due to a whole bunch of reasons, cognitive decline, adverse effects from medication, a mild stroke, we can save that person from a tremendous amount of pain, heartache, and the payer from a lot of money. That's the #1 killer, literally, for seniors is falling. So this product really expands us into that market. And we're also here at the Super Bowl to do the same thing with athletes. If we can get pro athletes at a young age to start walking around with this product so we can get a baseline of their cognitive and mechanical capabilities, we'll actually be able to, as they grow and expand their careers, we'll be able to know if they have gotten hurt physically or mentally and be able to compare that to a baseline.
No, that's great, Patrick. It sounds like you are off to some pretty amazing things here at the start of 2018, and I think, for all of our viewers, to get to understand, companies like GTX that are small companies that are emerging right now, really, doing some pretty phenomenal things with their technologies. I think you have over 80 patents or more that you have. So you're like, like I call you Mighty Mouse. Like you're that company that everyone needs to watch out for. And I want to congratulate you on behalf of Level Headed. Thank you for being on our show. And I want to continue to follow you and hopefully and highlight all the good works that you're doing. So thanks for coming, my man.
Thank you.